Hotep, how's everybody doing today? Hey, this is Michael Imhotep, founder of the African History Network, host of the African History Network show. I'm a talk show host, researcher, lecturer, and writer. It is Wednesday, June 5th, 2019, and we're live. So everybody share this broadcast on your Facebook page. Invite your friends to tune in also. Hope everybody's doing well today. All right, so I wanted to talk about this study. I saw an article from Huffington Post Black Voices about this. This article came out on May 17th, 2019. And I have been meaning to do a broadcast dealing with this, but it's been so busy, I had not had a chance to get to this topic. And I've covered things dealing with African-American girls in the past and stereotypes about them and different studies that talk about the mistreatment. Testing one, 2, 3. Different studies that talk about the mistreatment of African-American girls. Okay, how's everybody doing? All right, everybody share this broadcast on your Facebook page. Invite your friends to tune in also. This is Michael Imhotep, founder of the African History Network, host of the African History Network show. I'm a talk show host, researcher, lecturer, and writer. It is Wednesday, June 5th, 2019. Okay. All right. So I saw an article from Huffington Post Black Voices back on May 17, 2019, entitled "Black Girls Detail Harsh Consequences of Being Seen as Older Than White Peers." Black girls detail harsh consequences of being seen older than white peers. And this article, this study builds on other studies that we've seen in the past few years that deal with how African-American girls are mistreated in schools. And stereotypes are often come into play when it comes to disciplining African-American girls. They're seen many times to be said to have bad attitudes. They are looked at oftentimes as being hypersexualized, etc. And this impacts the way that African-American girls are treated in the classroom, how they are disciplined, and this has a wide-ranging impact, okay? So I've talked about things like this over the past few years when different studies like this come out. So this is extremely important, and this also deals with the way the media portrays us and how negative portrayals of African-Americans in the media impact the way people perceive us, think about us, and act towards us. Okay, so oftentimes when I post things about negative images of African Americans in the media or TV shows, et cetera, some people will say, "Oh, well, just turn it off." No, it's not about just turning it off. You have to understand the impact that imagery has on people. Your thoughts create feelings, your feelings create actions and behaviors, your actions and behaviors create results. Okay, so I've been studying media for 27 years, so I understand the impact that these images have on people. Okay, so everybody share this broadcast on your Facebook page. African American business owners, post the name of your business here on the thread of the broadcast, and we'll let you know how you can advertise with the African History Network. Also, email us at customerservice@africanhistorynetwork.com, customerservice@africanhistorynetwork.com, and we'll let you know how you can advertise with the African History Network. Okay, so this article talks about a new report that details the negative consequences suffered by African-American girls, African-American women and girls, when people perceive them as older than white peers. We know the same thing happens with African-American boys, and Dr. Philip Atiba Goff did a study a few years ago, and it's at the American Psychological Association's website, APA.org, I think it is, American Psychological Association's website. I've talked about this study as well, how Black boys as young as 5 years old are perceived to be a threat, and it's totally different for white boys at that age. Now, researchers at Georgetown Law's Center of Poverty and Inequality, okay, Georgetown University, Georgetown Law Centers Georgetown Law's Center on Poverty and Inequality reported their findings after speaking to groups of African American girls and women across the country about whether their real life experiences reflected what the same researchers found in 2017. The adultification of Black girls, the adultification of Black girls. And the women and girls say that they did. All right. Now, the prior study, which drew headlines in 2017, found that U.S. adults believe Black girls seem older than white girls of the same age, that Black girls need less nurturing, support, and comfort, and that young Black girls know more about sex than white girls do. Okay. Now, when this study came out, I talked about, when this article came out in 2017, I talked about this article as well. And that was, let's see, that was, which article was that? Let me pull this up here just a second. I have a couple of them. Okay. Yeah. So there was an article back in 2017 from Huffington Post Black Voices. And this article was entitled, Black Girls Are Viewed as Less Innocent Than White Girls Starting at Age 5. Black girls are viewed as less innocent than white girls starting at age 5. This was written by Taryn Finley for Huffington Post Black Voices, June 27th, 2017. And they talked about the adultification of Black girls leads to harsher disciplinary treatment, researchers found. And I've dealt with studies like this, and I'm trying to share this here. I've dealt with studies like this also in some of my lectures. I have a presentation, a lecture that I've done called Empire Strikes Black, the Propaganda of the Media. Okay, Empire Strikes Black, the Propaganda of the Media. And I talk about the negative stereotypical images of African Americans that we see in the media and the origins of them. And just very quickly here, if we look at the article from 2017 that this current article and study references, it talks about how a new report found that adults view young Black girls as less innocent and more adult-like than white girls starting as young as 5 years old. Okay, now the name of that study in 2017 was called Girlhood Interrupted. Girlhood Interrupted, the erasure of Black girls' childhood. Girlhood Interrupted, the erasure of Black girls' childhood. Now, that study was from Georgetown Law's Center on Poverty and Inequality as well. This is from 2017. That study showed that society's perception of African American girls leads to their quote unquote adultification. Adultification. The report shows that adults believe that Black girls seem older than white girls of the same age, and that Black girls need less nurturing, protection, and support and comfort than white girls. It also found that people assume Black girls are more independent, know more about adult topics, and know more about sex than young white girls. What this also does is this makes them more of a target when it comes to sexual abuse, etc. Now, if we juxtapose this to the R. Kelly situation, to R. Kelly, the accusations of sexual misconduct, sexually molesting girls, things like this, right? You know, I've talked about that. You can go back and watch some of the videos I've done dealing with that. So there was an article from WXYZ.com, Channel 7 in Detroit, okay? And this article dealt with how African-American girls were, African-American women were more likely to be the victims of sexual abuse, but less likely to report it, okay? And the name of this article is called Surviving R. Kelly Sheds Light on Bigger Issue. Black women raped at higher rates, but report less. Black women raped at higher rates, but report less. This is from January 12th, 2019, WXYZ.com. And they picked up a segment that was done by their Cleveland affiliate. And in this segment, the Cleveland affiliate WXYZ is an ABC news affiliate here in Detroit. Their Cleveland affiliate went to the Cleveland Rape Crisis Center. Okay, they're in Cleveland, and they spoke with Teresa Stafford. Teresa Stafford is a counselor there at the Rape Crisis Center there in Cleveland. And Teresa Stafford talked about, how she watched a 3-part series dealing with surviving R. Kelly. And she said, quote, "We actually see a lot of young ladies that have been, groomed into believing that somebody loves and cares for them. And then the person is actually taking advantage of them and victimizing them and causing harm to them." In this article, they talk about a study that says 60% of Black girls are sexually abused by the time they turn 18 years old. Okay, but Teresa Stafford went on to say that only 1 in 15 Black women actually report the abuse. She said, quote, "I think we have to get to a point in society that we are talking to our young Black girls and that we are talking to our young Black girls and just the Black community as a whole, having a conversation that sexual violence exists in the community and that we have a system and organizations to respond when these young ladies come forward to disclose." Okay, so when we look at the negative depiction of African American women in the media, especially the hypersexualization of African American women in negative corporate control hip hop, okay, then we look at studies that talk about how, going back to the one from 2000, article from 2017, Black girls are viewed as less innocent than white girls starting at age 5. All these imageries and these stereotypes help to form a consensus, right? And your thoughts create feelings, your feelings create actions and behaviors, your actions and behaviors create results. So this negatively impacts the way African American girls are treated by white people as well as African Americans, okay? By white people as well as African Americans. Now, going back to the article from 2017, the report, once again, in 2017, the report was called "Girlhood Interrupted: The Erasure of Black Girls' Childhood." The report, which built on information from a 2014 study by Dr. Philip Atiba Goff, Goff, that found that Black boys are more likely to be viewed as older and suspected of crimes starting at age 10. Black boys are more likely to be viewed as older and suspected of crime starting at age 10. It's the first of its kind to focus on girls, okay? So check out this article. We'll post a link here. This is from the one from 2017. It's from Huffington Post Black Voices. How's everybody doing today? We got Randy, Beatrice, Walter. There's a few of the people watching. Okay, everybody share this broadcast on your Facebook page. Invite your friends to tune in. All right, so we have to understand how these stereotypes impact us, not participate in our own dehumanization, fight against these stereotypes, and protect African American girls also. All right, and then I'm going to post the article here from WXYZ.com, also dealing with surviving R. Kelly as well, and how African American women are more likely to be sexually abused, but less likely to report it, which allows the abuse to continue. Okay, that allows the abuse to continue. All right, so let's go back to the article from May 17th, 2019 from Huffington Post Black Voices. Black girls detail harsh consequences of being seen as older than white girls, okay? So this article goes on to say, referring to the prior study from 2017, that study, which drew headlines 2 years ago, found that U.S. adults believe Black girls seem older than white girls of the same age, that Black girls need less nurturing, support, and comfort, and that young Black girls know more about sex than white girls do. Quote, now Jamila Blake is the co-author of the report, and she said, quote, almost all the Black girls and women we talked to said they had experienced adultification bias as children, and they overwhelmingly agreed that it led teachers and other adults to treat them more harshly and hold them to higher standards than white girls. Now, the researchers spoke to 9 focus groups with a total of about 50 African American girls and women of varied ages and in diverse regions of the country over a year from 2017 to 2018. Okay, to society, quote, to society, we're not innocent, and white girls are always innocent, one participant in the focus group aged 17 to 23 told researchers. Now, another participant in the age group, the 20 to 29-year-old age group, said, quote, even when you see just in general the word, quote unquote, attitude being applied, it's usually not applied to white girls, okay? It's applied to Black girls. Now, so the 2017 report grew out of the findings from a 2014 report by Dr. Philippa T. Goff, like I said, that found Black boys were more likely to be viewed as older and to be suspected of crime starting at age 10. Now, choosing to focus specifically on African-American girls, the 2017 study found that adults saw African-American girls ages 5 to 19 as in need of less protection and support than white girls the same age, and that Black girls were more independent and knew more about adult topics, including about sex. Now, the women in the focus group recounted experiences that reflected how adultification bias appeared to be connected to their receiving of more punitive treatment. They're receiving more punitive treatment. One participant, for instance, described an encounter with a police officer who did not believe she was 15 years old. He handcuffed her and fingerprinted her, insisting she was too old not to carry identification, but she's only 15. How many white girls have you arrested and fingerprinted for not having identification? Now, other women spoke about being treated as having an quote unquote attitude or as being threatening in school. Now, one participant in the 17 to 23-year-old age group told Georgetown's researchers, quote, most times when you try to defend yourself, they see how you're talking back, and then they'll be like, quote unquote, their consequences, okay? And they'll say, oh, so they get a detention, okay, get a suspension. They always feel like you're talking back, but you're really not. You're just trying to defend, like get your side across, okay? So research has shown that African-American girls in school are over 5 times more likely to be suspended than white girls. This was a report from 2017 that I've talked about before as well, from the National Women's Law Center, using data from the U.S. Department of Education's Office for Civil Rights between 2013 and 2014. The Department of Education is extremely important. It's a disaster under clueless Betsy DeVos. Okay, but this is an example of how elections have consequences, because who nominated Betsy DeVos? All right, so if we look at the study from 2000, let's see, 5 times more likely to be suspended. We have, do I have that one up? Let me see here, hold on. I think I have that one, Black girls innocent. I saw that one. I have a few studies here. Okay, let's keep going. Okay, Black girls are so 5 times more likely to be suspended than white girls. Now, researchers hypothesized that part of what played into the adultification of Black girls were stereotypes people had or held about African-American women, as the Sapphire, which is a stereotype of over-sexualized African-American woman, the Sapphire, or an angry Black woman, or as the Jezebel, or the hypersexualized Black woman. Actually, the Sapphire was the sassy type, talking back, aggressive type African-American woman. That was that stereotype, the Sapphire. And actually on the TV show Amos and Andy, one of the wives on there was named Sapphire, okay? So we see how these negative stereotypes get handed down from generation to generation and get infused into the vernacular, the lexicon, and get infused into various imagery, okay, and get passed down from generation to generation. I'm going to pull up something here from the Jim Crow Museum at Ferris State University. It talks about the Sapphire caricature. The Sapphire caricature portrays Black women as rude, loud, malicious, stubborn, and overbearing. This is the angry Black woman, or ABW, popularized in the cinema and on television. She is tart-tongued, and emasculating. One hand on a hip and the other pointing and jabbing violently and rhythmically, rocking her head, mocking African-American men for offenses ranging from being unemployed to sexually pursuing white women. She is a shrill nagger with irrational states of anger and indignation, and is often mean-spirited and abusive. Although African-American men are her primary targets, she has venom for anyone who insults or disrespects her. The Sapphire's desire to dominate and her hypersensitivity to injustices make her a perpetual complainer, but she does not criticize to improve things. Rather, she criticizes because she is unendingly bitter and wishes that unhappiness on others. So hurt people, and people who are miserable, misery loves company, okay? Rather, she criticizes because she is unendingly bitter and wishes that unhappiness on others. Now, the Sapphire caricature is a harsh portrayal of African-American women, but it is more than that. It is a social control mechanism that is employed to punish African-American women who violate the societal norms that encourage them to be passive, servile, non-threatening, and unseen, okay? So I'm not saying this is how African-American women are. I'm talking about a caricature, a stereotype of African-American women that goes back decades, called the Sapphire, that gets incorporated into TV shows, movies, things like this, all right? This is what I'm talking, also reality TV shows as well. I'm not gonna call any names, but Love and Hip Hop thing. Things like that. All right. So check this out. Also, this is from the Jim Crow Museum at Ferris State University. I mean, they have some fantastic information. They have a fantastic collection of historical memorabilia pertaining to African Americans. And it's at ferris.edu. You can go to their website. They have a lot of information there, but they have a museum that you can go and physically see, but they have a lot of information on their website. So Ferris State University is in Michigan, in the state of Michigan. So we'll post this link here. This deals with the Sapphire collection, Sapphire, the Sapphire collection. And I've been studying media for 27 years, okay? So, my degree is in business administration with a major in marketing from Wayne State University here in Detroit. And when I was in business school, at the same time, I was studying African history and African American history. So I could see how they interconnect, because the foundation of marketing is psychology. And in marketing, you're understanding how to craft messages, and you're dealing with the dissemination of messages. Okay, so, I'm understanding how stereotypes impact us. And at the same time, I'm understanding how to craft messages. We're studying Maslow's hierarchy of needs. We're studying Sigmund Freud. We're studying, Charles Darwin, all different types of things like this, and understanding how the mind works, and understanding how advertising impacts people, and understanding how to craft messages. Okay, we're looking at movies, we're looking at commercials, all different types of things like this, and understanding how to elicit certain responses from people. Okay, so I saw an intersection between the two. Okay, so we posted that article here from the Ferris State University Jim Crow Museum of Racist Memorabilia. That's what it's actually called, Jim Crow Museum of Racist Memorabilia. Okay. All right, so let's continue here. Check out that, because there's more to that article. I just don't have time to get into it. So check that out. There's a lot more. They talk about Aunt Esther. Okay, we'll talk about this because I've talked about the Aunt Esther character in the past. Blacks on television have often, blacks on television have been overrepresented in situational comedies and underrepresented in dramatic series. One problem with this imbalance is that blacks in situational comedies are portrayed in racially stereotypical ways in order to get laughs. Canned laughter prompts the television audience to laugh as the angry Black woman, the Sapphire, insults and mocks Black males. Aunt Esther was a Sapphire character on the television situational comedy Sanford and Son, which premiered on NBC in 1972, with the final episode in 1977, and is still running in syndication. I saw Sanford and Son today on TV1. All right. She was the Bible-swinging angry nemesis and sister-in-law of the main character, Fred G. Sanford. Theirs was a love, mostly hate relationship. Now, Fred would call Aunt Esther ugly, and she would call him fish-eyed fool, or an old sucker, or a beady-eyed heathen. Then they would threaten to hit each other. Now, Aunt Esther dominated her husband, Woodrow, who was a mild-mannered alcoholic. Okay, so you have an emasculation of an African-American man. Now, Woodrow did own a business. Okay, he was a business owner. And in the sixth season, I think it was sixth season, because there are only 6 seasons of Sanford and Son, 122 episodes. I have all 6 seasons on DVD, by the way. He did quit drinking when they were going to adopt a son. All right, but you have this emasculated image of Woodrow, who, 1, was shorter than Aunt Esther, 2, she was domineering and pushed him around, 3, he's an alcoholic as well. So you have this imagery of an emasculated African-American man who's an alcoholic. Now, in this latter relationship of Aunt Esther dominating her husband, who's a mild-mannered alcoholic, you have the idea of the aggressive Black woman dominating a weak, morally defective Black man. Okay, then they go into okay, so check this out. They talk about good times, and it's too much. I don't have time to go into all that. So read the article. There's a lot to it. I just don't have time to get into it. All right, so let's continue. How's everybody doing? Okay, and also if you like to see what we have here, we got Randy, Francis. Okay. Also, if you like this type of information, you can donate to the African History Network, paypal.me/the AHN show, paypal.me/the AHN show. That helps us to keep doing the research, finance our Sunday night show, the African History Network show, pay the bills, etc. Definitely helps. paypal.me/the AHN show, or at our website, africanhistorynetwork.com. Click on the yellow donate button, and you can also set it up for a recurring donation as well. All right. And African-American business owners, post name your business here on the thread of the broadcast. And we'll let you know how you can advertise with the African History Network. Also email us at customer service at africanhistorynetwork.com, customer service at africanhistorynetwork.com. We can get you up and running today. All right, let's continue here. Let's see, which one is this? Okay. So researchers hypothesized that part of what played into the adultification of Black girls were stereotypes people held about Black women as the Sapphire, or angry, angry Black woman, or as the Jezebel, or the hypersexualized Black woman, and then would apply those to young Black girls. Black women, the researchers spoke to, said this aligned with their experiences. Okay, so you had one participant, one African-American girl or woman in the 17 to 23-year-old focus group. She said a black girl, if she's right and she wants to argue about something, she's always labeled as angry. Okay, she said, I would see people debating with teachers and they would always automatically get in trouble because she has an attitude. All right. So you had another participant in the 20 to 29-year-old focus group, who said in 6th grade, the school nurse asked my aunt The school nurse asked my aunt if I was sexually active. Okay, this girl was in 6th grade at the time. And she said I was like, what? She said, I didn't know anyone that had sex, okay, back at the time when she was in 6th grade. She said, and it was so crazy to me. And then just thinking, like, should we, she would never, referring to the nurse, she would never think to ask my white friend that question, all right? So the study's authors are asking African-American women and girls to share more stories on their website in an effort to build more awareness and spark change. All right, so the website is endadultificationbias.org. End, E-E-N-D, endadultificationbias.org. I'll post the website here. We'll post the link to the website here on the thread of the broadcast, endadultificationbias.org. And for a lot of people, they haven't heard this term before, adultification bias, but it is real. And I remember first seeing Dr. Philip Atiba Goff on Melissa Harris Perry's show that used to come on MSNBC before Joanne Reed got her show. Melissa Harris Perry would come on the weekends, 10 a.m. to 12 noon. And sometimes she would have Dr. Philip Atiba Goff on. Okay, so let's look at the end adultification bias. This storytelling portrayal provides information about adultification bias and opportunity to share stories and a forum for strategies and solutions. Our goal is to elevate awareness of adultification bias, engage in the power of storytelling by centering the voices of Black women and girls, and help pave the way toward reform. Okay, so check out that website. Now, there was a study back in 2014. There were a number of articles written about this. And let me go to Black Enterprise had an article about this, also The Root. I pulled up the one from The Root. They have a title, but no article there. Originally, the title was Black Girls with Darker Skin More Likely Than Light-Skinned Counterparts to Be Suspended. New York Times has an article. They were citing an article from the New York Times. BlackEnterprise.com also had an article about that study as well from December 15, 2014. Study, Black girls with darker skin tones suspended at higher rates than their peers, okay? So if we look here, this was a study by Villanova University. And this study found that African-American girls that are darker skinned are 3 times more likely to be suspended than lighter skinned African-American girls, okay? And Villanova sociology professor Lance Hannon, who contributed to the report, noted that bias came from different gender expectations between Black girls and white girls. Bias came from different gender expectations between Black girls and white girls. Now, he said, he told the New York Times, quote, when a darker skinned African-American female acts up, there's a certain concern about their boyish aggressiveness, okay? And he said, the concern is that they don't know their place as a female, as a woman. Okay, so once again, we are dealing with stereotypes, okay, that are perpetuated through the media that influence the way people think, feel, act, and behave. All right, your thoughts create feelings, your feelings create actions and behaviors, your actions and behaviors create results. So compared with African-American boys who are disciplined at higher rates than boys of other races and ethnicities, researchers say that African-American girls tend to be penalized more subjectively, like for having a bad attitude or being defiant. Now, this is the study from Villanova University that came out in December 2014. Jamila Blake, an associate professor of educational psychology at Texas A&M University, said that while African-American boys are seen as threatening, African-American girls are often seen as unsophisticated, hypersexualized, and defiant. All you gotta do is just look at any of the hip hop videos, like negative corporate control hip hop. All you gotta do is look at any of the videos, half naked African American women, the way they're being portrayed. This influences our young girls. They think they have to look this way, act this way, have a big behind, have big breasts, right? They think they have to be half naked, be hypersexualized, be promiscuous, okay, to get a certain type of guy that the media tells them they should be trying to go after. Now, Catherine E. L. Hammond, the Assistant Secretary for Civil Rights at the Department of Education, so this was under the Obama administration, whose office published a report on school discipline in March of 2014, March of, what year was this? I think 2014. Yeah, March of 2014, offered in March of 2014 that offered recommendations for how to improve disciplinary practices in schools, said the discrepancies in disciplinary practices were not lost on young girls of color. Quote, the felt experience of too many of our girls in school is that they are being discriminated against. Okay. The message we send when we suspend or expel any student is that that student is not worthy of being in school. That is a pretty ugly message to internalize and very, very difficult to get past as part of an educational career. Now, one example that they gave in this article was dealing with an African American girl and a white girl who were in the I think they were in the bathroom, school bathroom, girls' bathroom, and they were caught vandalizing the wall. Okay. Let me see here. I don't know why people send me all these messages when I'm on the air live. Okay, so it talks about how the New York Times detailed one particular situation that was handled very differently and seemingly showed a huge racial disparity. Okay, two friends got into trouble at the Georgetown Middle School in Georgia in 2013 for vandalizing the walls of a gym bathroom. One girl was Makia Hutchings, and I'm going to pull this up. I'm going to go to this exact point here in the article. So Makia Hutchings was 12 at the time. Makia Hutchings, a 12-year-old African-American girl, and her friend, who was not identified, but was a white girl. Both students were suspended from school, but that is where the similarities end. Makia Hutchings went through a disciplinary hearing, which eventually ended up being a juvenile criminal case for a trespassing misdemeanor and a possible felon, the New York Times reported. Her family was unable to pay the $100 restitution, accepting a deal that had her had her charges dismissed. Makia Hutchings spent a summer on probation with a curfew and completed hours of community service. Her friend, that little girl, had no further issues after her parents paid the restitution. So when we deal with this, it's like the same issue with that comes with the cash bail system. African Americans are often criminalized once or punished twice. Once, being charged with the crime. Secondly, for being poor, not being able to post bail to get out of jail and to wait for a trial at home, like a lot of other people can who can afford it. Okay, this is what happened to Kalief Browder. Okay, Kalief Browder was 16 years old. He was accused of stealing a backpack with a laptop in it. All right, he said he maintained his innocence and said he didn't commit a crime. So he spent 3 years at Rikers Island, not because he was convicted, because he was waiting for trial, and he came from a poor family. His family, if I remember correctly, his bail was about $900 to $1,000. His family didn't have the money to bail him out so he could await for trial at home. And he endured physical abuse, psychological abuse. Eventually, he gets out because it doesn't go to trial. The charges are dropped. He maintained his innocence. Apparently, the prosecutors thought he was going to take a plea, but he didn't. So he gets released from Rikers. Wasn't convicted of anything, just awaiting trial because his family couldn't pay the bail. All right, and then a few years later, after he's released, just because of what he went through and the psychological damage that was done, he committed suicide. Okay, so in the article from the New York Times, it says, even more of a surprise was the penalty after her family disputed the role she was accused of playing in the vandalism, referring to Makia Hutchings, and said it could not pay, it was approximately $100 of restitution. While both students were suspended from school for a few days, Makia Hutchings had to face a school disciplinary hearing. A few weeks later, a visit by a uniformed police officer from the local sheriff's department, who served her grandmother with papers accusing Makia of a trespassing misdemeanor and potentially a felony. As part of an agreement with the state to have the charges dismissed, this is directly from the New York Times article, dismissed in juvenile court, Makia Hutchings admitted to the allegations of criminal trespassing. Makia, who is African-American, spent her summer on probation under a 7 p.m. curfew and had to complete 16 hours of community service, in addition to writing an apology letter to a student whose sneakers were defaced in the incident. Her friend, who was white, was let go after her parents paid restitution. Okay, let's see. For all of the attention placed on problems that Black boys face in terms of school discipline and criminal justice, there is increasing focus on the way those issues affect African American girls as well. Let's see. Okay, so data from the Office of Civil Rights and the United States Department of Education show that from 2011 to 2012, African American girls in public elementary and secondary schools nationwide were suspended at a rate of 12%, compared with a rate of just 2% for white girls, and more than girls of any other race or ethnicity. In Georgia, the state of Georgia, the ratio of African American girls receiving suspensions in the same period of time, 2011 to 2012, compared with white girls, was 5-1. And in Henry County in Georgia, the ratio was 2.3-1, said J.D. Hardin, the spokesman for the county school district. And researchers say that within minority groups, darker-skinned girls are disciplined more harshly than light-skinned ones. Okay, so check out this article here from, this is from the New York Times, which goes deeper into this, this particular study from 2014. Okay, and let's see, they had, all right. Okay, so check out this article from the New York Times, and let's see, they talk about Michael J. Tefelsky, who was a lawyer from the Georgia Legal Services Program, who represented Makia Hutchings in the school disciplinary hearing. And advocates for students say the punishment that Makia faced was an example of racial disparities in school discipline. Now, in response to the actions taken against Makia, Attorney Tefelsky said his office had filed a complaint with the Justice Department claiming racial discrimination and the violation of the Civil Rights Act. Quote, "I've never had a white kid call me for representation in Henry County," end quote, Attorney Tefelsky said. Okay, look at what this family had to go through because of this. Okay, the attorney said, quote, "White kids," he said, "what kid needs to be having a conversation with a lawyer about the right to remain silent? What kids don't have those conversations?" He said, "White kids don't have those conversations. Black kids do." Now, according to Makia Hutchings, her only offense was writing the word hi, H-I, on the bathroom stall door while her friend scribbled the rest of the graffiti. Makia said, quote, I only wrote one word and I had to do all that, end quote. Okay, she said it isn't fair. Now, Makia's grandmother is Kenji Roberts, Kenji, Kenji Roberts. And Kenji Roberts was her grandmother and legal guardian. She said Makia couldn't eat. She was scared after the officer visited her home. All right, now, Mr. Harden of the Henry County School District said that for privacy reasons, the district could not comment on her case, but that it had set up a committee to review its disciplinary procedures. All right, so check out the rest of this article also. All right, now another theme the girls have in common is dark skin color, okay, which researchers at Villanova University say affects the likelihood of being suspended. An analysis by Villanova researchers of data from the National Longitudinal Surveys of Youth and the National Longitudinal Study of Adolescent Health indicated that Black girls with the darkest skin tones were 3 times more likely to be suspended than Black girls with the lightest skin tones. There are different gender expectations for Black girls compared with white girls, said Lance Hannon, Villanova University sociology professor who conducted the analysis. And he said there are different expectations within cross sections of African-American girls, okay? He said, quote, when a dark-skinned African-American female acts up, there's a certain concern about their boyish aggressiveness, that they don't know their place as a female, as a woman, okay? All right, so check out the full article. We'll post a link here. And this is from New York Times. Name of this article is Schools Discipline for Girls Differs by Race and Hue. Schools Discipline for Girls Differs by Race and Hue. This is from December 10th, 2014, written by Tanzina Vega, V-E-G-A, for the New York Times. Let's post this link here also. All right, how's everybody doing? We have Shaletta, Jolin, or Jolin. There's a few of the people watching also. Okay, and then there was an article that theroot.com had from February 4th, 2015. Girls of color disciplined much more harshly in school than white girls. Now, this is from February 4th, 2015. And in this article, it says, similar to the Villanova University report released in December, about December 2014, about how Black girls with browner hues were disciplined much more harshly and much more frequently than fairer skinned Black girls. A new report released by Columbia University's law school found that girls of color, quote, face much harsher school discipline than white counterparts, a press release issued by the school explains. Now, the report is called Black Girls Pushed Out, Over-Policed, and Underprotected. Black girls pushed out, over-policed, and underprotected. And this study features data from the Department of Education, U.S. Department of Education, about how Black girls are 6 times more likely than white girls to be suspended from school. Black girls are 6 times more likely than white girls to be suspended from school, according to this report from 2015. The study, once again, is called Black Girls Pushed Out, Over-Policed, and Underprotected. Even more alarming, girls of color in general are not participating in and are being exposed to initiatives are not participating in and being exposed to initiatives to keep them out of the school to prison pipeline, initiatives that are intended for African American, Hispanic, working class communities. Okay, so check that one out also. We'll post a link. We'll try to pull that one up and post a link to that as well. Now, So when we are looking for policy changes in the schools, you have to take these studies in to the uh, school board meetings. You have to take these studies in to push for changes in the schools, okay? And then also we have to be cognizant of the imagery that we're taking in to fight against these negative stereotypical images of African Americans. This is why I'm glad this is the last season of Empire. That's one of the most stereotypical TV shows. I've never been a fan of Empire. I've always been against that show. I mean, it's like the birth of a nation of its day. Now, Washington Post had an article from April 26, 2018. April 26, 2018, entitled, "Are Black Girls Unfairly Targeted for Dress Code Violations at School?" Are Black girls unfairly targeted for dress code violations at school? You bet they are. Now, let's see here. I think there was a study. Okay, so this dealt with a report from, they cited the report from the National Women's Law Center from 2017 that dealt with how African American girls are 5 times as likely as white girls to get suspended in schools across the country. Okay, and then they go on to say a good portion of that may have to do with dress code violations. The National Women's Law Center tackled that part dealing with dress code violations in a new report that they released in April of 2018, which looks at DC public schools to find out who gets dress coded. Who gets dress coded? Quote, students report that Black girls are especially curvier students, C-U-R-V-I-E-R, curvier students are, sorry, students report that Black girls and especially curvier students are disproportionately targeted according to the report entitled Dress Coding, Black Girls, Bodies, and Bias in DC Schools. Dress coded, Black girls, bodies, and bias in DC schools. Now, quote, these punishments interrupt girls' educations while sending dangerous messages to the school community. How a girl looks is more important than what she thinks, and girls are ultimately responsible for the misbehavior of boys, end quote. Now, there was one girl who was quoted here. Her name is Jillian Towson, T-O-W-S-O-N. She's a 17-year-old senior at the time at Duke Ellington High School of Arts in Northwest Washington. She said that, I've seen boys with outfits that violate everything in the dress code, sagging pants and see-through shirts. She said that nothing happens to them, okay? Now, the writer of, I think it's the person involved in writing the study, who is this? But they said, I talked to girls from a few DC schools involved in the report who said, I think it's the writer of the article. I talked to girls from a few DC schools, involved in the report who said they rarely see the boys with sagging pants and underwear on display targeted for violations, right? Now, the report analyzed dress codes that are publicly available for DC high schools and found these guidelines. 65% of the schools regulate the length of skirts, 58% prohibit tank tops, 42% ban tights and or leggings, 45% require students to wear belts, and many specify the belts must be Black. And 74% of the dress codes authorize disciplinary action that can lead to missed class or school, according to the report. So this is a huge problem. Now, the Washington Post reported in 2017 that Washington, D.C. schools do this thing they call send, quote unquote, send homes, where students don't get formal suspensions. letting the school district again fudge the numbers and claim lower suspension rates because school district policy forbids straight up suspension for dress code violations. Okay, so they'll send a child home. It doesn't get recorded as a formal suspension, so the overall suspension numbers drop. So they say, hey, we have less suspension numbers, but you're still sending children home over dress code violations. But the end result is the same. Kids miss class, and in this case, it's mostly girls, Black girls, who suffer. Now, some of that's easy to see in dress code that have cultural biases, with schools banning head wraps, non-religious scarves, and do-rags that are staples in some African-American world. Now, your ass shouldn't be wearing no do-rag at school. I'm sorry. Head wraps that are cultural, gelés, head wraps for girls is understandable. Boys shouldn't be running around with do-rags. We need to have some standards. Go watch the videos. Go watch the video I did dealing with the African-American principal at the school in Houston, Texas, who set a dress code for parents. Because when you go study her, she's talking about preparing the children for excellence, and she's talking about how the parents are a partner in their child's education. And she's saying we got to have standards. And she started doing that. Number one, she had the previous school she came from was an elementary school. And a lot of times that elementary school surpassed the state standards when it came to test scores, things like this. But she said she had to do it because of the way that some of the parents were coming to the school. And you go watch the broadcast I did dealing with this. And she was talking about how some of the parents, were coming wearing Daisy Dukes and all different types of things, all different types of inappropriate material, wearing bonnets and sagging pants and things like this. And she's saying we need to set an example for our children. She said, we're preparing your children for success. We need your help in doing that. Okay, so at least one girl that the writer talked to said she got held up late for class over and over again. A security guard searched the hair she had tied up in a head wrap. But other girls saw different factors in the way dress codes were enforced. All right. Let's see. Fatima said, quote, I mostly notice a discrepancy when it comes to body shape. I think that's most noticeable to me. She was a senior at the School Without Walls. That's the name of the School Without Walls. She said, quote, I'm petite. I could be wearing the exact same thing as a friend of mine who is curvier or thicker, and she will get dress coded and I won't. Now, a school in Virginia, the article goes on to say, a school in Virginia was recently telling me, a school official in Virginia was recently telling me this was so obvious in his school system that 3 girls, all good friends and all different shapes, sizes, and colors, wore the same band outfit to school one day to make their point. And sure enough, the curvier and darker skinned girls were singled out for a violation. The thin white girl was not. They're all wearing the same exact outfit. They decided not to be named in the story, okay, in the report, but their point was taken by school officials who see the difficulty in enforcement. Okay, the biggest question is, of course, why? Who suffers when a girl's collarbone is showing? What harm comes to a classroom when a tween wears leggings? Okay. When Samaria Short, 13 years old, violated John Philip Sousa Middle School's dress code, her punishment was losing class time. It happened when everyone in her home was sick and no one had done the laundry. Her khaki uniform pants were not clean, so she wore jeans. Even though she studied for a test that day and was ready for class, she got yanked out of the classroom. Samaria said, quote, I had on my uniform shirt, but I didn't have on my school pants. So they made me go into a room and try on all these extra pants they had. I couldn't fit into any of them. Some of them were too big, some were too small. They were going to send me to go home and change. They were going to send me to go home and change. Okay, end quote. But her mom goes to work at 4 a.m. at Chick-fil-A, and she was, her mother wasn't going to be home until noon. So Samaria was placed in ISS, which is in-school suspension, and missed her science and social studies classes that morning. All the girls I talked to said the very early messages hammered into them about dress codes teach them to be self-conscious and ashamed of their bodies. All of the girls I talked to said the very early messages hammered into them about dress codes teaches them to be self-conscious and ashamed of their bodies. Now, Nasira Fair, F-A-I-R, 17 years old, a senior at Woodrow Wilson High School in Northwest Washington, said, quote, "Throughout middle school, I was not allowed to wear leggings, and it made me wonder about my body from a very young age." She said, "Why can't I wear leggings? They make me comfortable," okay? And she'll never forget one of the first days of her high school when there was an assembly and a PowerPoint presentation that said girls are expected to wear bras. Now, Nasira said, quote, "I think the girls all wore tank tops without bras the next day. All of this is to what end? To protect your precious little boy from being distracted." She said, "We're promoting this idea that boys boys' education is more important than ours." Now, the girls I asked all said the boys could not care less about the way that the girls dressed. Okay, one of the girls said they've got other things to distract them. Now, school officials, when it comes to school officials, maybe it's the administration who need to stop staring. This is what the writer of the article said. This is from the Washington Post. This is by Petula Dvorak, a white female. But this deals with another study that pertains to the Washington D.C. school system and dress codes, and how African American girls, especially African American girls who are curvier, are disproportionately targeted for dress code violations. The name of that study is called Dress Coded: Black Girls, Bodies, and Bias in DC Schools. Okay, so the name of this article, again from the Washington Post, is called "Are Black Girls Unfairly Targeted for Dress Code Violations at School?" You bet they are. So we'll post a link here as well. All right, how's everybody doing? Let's see who we have here. Tiffany. Okay, how you doing, Tiffany? Francis. How's everybody doing? All right. And if you like this type of information, also you can donate to the African History Network. It really helps us keep doing the research, keep doing the broadcast, finance our Sunday night show, pay the bills. Helps me when I have to travel. I'm traveling to Atlanta. I'll be in Atlanta Friday, June 14th through Sunday, June 16th for the huge Juneteenth celebration taking place at something. I forgot the exact location. But we'll get the flyer up on our website, AfricanHistoryNetwork.com. Visit JuneteenthATL.com. JuneteenthATL.com. I'll be a vendor there all 3 days. I'll be speaking 1 or 2 of those days also. I got to talk to Bob Johnson, see which day I'm speaking. Probably be speaking Saturday. And I know last year they had a historian's tent. I was speaking there as well. So we'll put the information on our website, but I'll be in Atlanta. So I'll be driving to Atlanta. So I'm going to rent a car and drive to Atlanta because I'll be taking a lot of things with me to sell at my vendor table. Okay, so it's harder traveling, like on a plane, trying to take all this stuff on a plane, things like that. So I think this time I'm gonna try renting a car and driving down there. That way I can take more things with me. So PayPal.me/the AHN show. You can donate there. or at our website, AfricanHistoryNetwork.com. Click on the yellow donate button. You can also set up for recurring donations. Shalita said, I'm in Detroit, Michigan, Shalita. Then also, African-American business owners, post the name of your business here in the thread of the broadcast. Email us at customerservice@AfricanHistoryNetwork.com, customerservice@AfricanHistoryNetwork.com. We'll let you know how you can advertise with the African History Network. Our current promotion, you get 2 months for the price of one. We have a new advertiser here. So summer is coming up. People want to get into shape, and the Fast Life 28-Day Challenge can help you with that. Also, visit their website, tfl28.com, tfl28.com. All right, so the Fast Life 28-Day Challenge is a 28-day structured fasting regimen, okay? And it includes healthy habits and 3 coaches holding you accountable on a daily basis. The Fast Life 28-Day Challenge is an online coaching program to help members tap into their body's natural ability to repair itself via fasting. In this challenge, they focus on utilizing fasting, whole foods, and movement to improve metabolic conditions such as obesity, high blood pressure, pre-diabetes, type 2 diabetes, high cholesterol, and more. Visit their website, tfl28.com, tfl28.com for the 28-day Fast Life Challenge. They have a new group starting up soon. They also have a special private Facebook group where you can meet online and get tips, things like that, and get support also. So visit that website, tfl28.com, to get in shape for the summer. And then for those who are also health conscious, we have Mercedes Waffles and More. All right. Now, the Mercedes Waffles and More is a catering service that caters in the New York City and New Jersey area. And their food is vegan and vegetarian soul food, vegan and vegetarian soul food. Okay. So they want people to come together and have food that tastes good, feels good, and is good for you. Okay. It's the ultimate comfort food. Visit their website, mercedeswafflesandmore.com, mercedeswafflesandmore.com, or call them, area code 914-200-4493, 914-200-4493. Okay, so they serve, they do catering, and they service the New York area and also New Jersey. Okay, they service and they sell vegan and vegetarian soul food. And we all remember the song by Pebbles, do you want to ride in my Mercedes, boy? Right? Okay, so, I would say, do you want to ride in my Mercedes, girl? But check out Mercedes Waffles and More. Okay, so Samantha me said, when am I coming to New York? One, if you want me to do a presentation for your group or organization, email me at customerservice@AfricanHistoryNetwork.com, customerservice@AfricanHistoryNetwork.com, and we can set something up. 2, I'll be in Chicago July 13th for the Black Agenda Tour. That's a Saturday, July 13th. Brooklyn, I'm not sure if that date is confirmed. I talked to Michi X and Jice Johnson yesterday, so I'll be probably going to Brooklyn. I have to get the date for that. But I know I'll be in Chicago Saturday, July 13th, and you'll hear more about that. I don't remember the location of the event. I'll be in Atlanta. That's coming up because I'm preparing for the Atlanta trip now. Friday, June 14th through Sunday, June 16th. The huge Juneteenth celebration is taking place in Atlanta. And this year it's at the, what is this? The Home Depot backyard near Mercedes-Benz Stadium, the Home Depot backyard. That's where it's taking place, okay? Then I'll be back in Atlanta the 3rd weekend of July. I think that's the weekend of the 20th, something like that. That is for the Liberated Minds Black Homeschool and Education Expo. The weekend of the 19th through the 21st of July. I'll be back in Atlanta for that. All right. Now we have a new online course starting up very soon. And it's Ancient Kemet, the Moors, and the Ma'afa, Understanding the Transatlantic Slave Trade, what they didn't teach you in school. Ancient Kemet, the Moors, and the Ma'afa, Understanding the Transatlantic Slave Trade, what they didn't teach you in school. This will be an 8-week, and normally meet on Saturdays, 8-week, meet 2 hours each time, probably about 4 p.m. to 6 p.m. 8-week, 16-hour course. I do 1,000 years of history. It's online to be at our online school. And last time I taught this class live was September 2017. We did 1,000 years of history. We deal with history leading up to the transatlantic slave trade and better understanding the transatlantic slave trade also. Email me at customerservice@africanhistorynetwork.com for more information dealing with that, because I'm putting the link together for that now. So you can't sign up for it just yet, but in the next day or so, you'll be able to do that. So email me at customerservice@africanhistorynetwork.com if you're interested in that. If you registered for the class before, you get 50% off on this one. This one will probably be $80. And you can watch it over and over again also. So it's live. You can ask questions in the live chat, but you can go back and watch it over and over again. I do a PowerPoint presentation. We have video clips, book references, everything. Okay, so it's fantastic. June 1st was the anniversary of the 98th anniversary of the attack on Black Wall Street in Tulsa, Oklahoma. And I have my 2.5-hour lecture I did dealing with the history of Black Wall Street. That's at our website, AfricanHistoryNetwork.com. Black Wall Street from Destruction to the Resurrection of Economic Empowerment. And then also we have it on digital download for $8. The DVD is on sale $10, regular $15. The digital download is $8. So we just posted that link here. It's also at our website, AfricanHistoryNetwork.com, AfricanHistoryNetwork.com. All right, be sure to, you can post your comments here also. I'll try to get some of your comments before I get out of here. Be sure to listen to the African History Network show every Sunday, 9 p.m. to 11 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. All right. Some of you all saw the post I did. So we broadcast on 9:10 a.m. the Superstation WFDF. We broadcast on Facebook Live also. And it's on our YouTube channel. Some of you all saw the post that I did today dealing with YouTube's new policy because they're cracking down on videos that promote hate speech and things like this, right? And they're removing those videos. But also what they're doing is they're changing their monetization program, okay? And this hit me today because they sent me an email today that said after reviewing my videos that I'm no longer eligible for the monetization program. And there's going to be other people who are getting this email and hit by this. I first saw the story on MSNBC today. Then I saw the article on NBC News website, okay? But this is hitting me hard because a lot of our videos are monetized, and that generates some revenue to help pay the bills. But now we're no longer in the program, and so I don't have that money coming in on the 21st each month, you know. And I read the email that they sent, and they didn't say which video violated their new policy, and they didn't say what I said in the videos that violated their policies. So this is very ambiguous. I'm looking for the email they sent today. Okay, so here's what they said. It said, "Hi, Michael Imhotep. During a recent review, our team of policy specialists carefully looked over the videos you've uploaded to your channel, Michael Imhotep. We found that a significant portion of your channel is not in line with our YouTube partner program policies. As of today, your channel is not eligible to monetize, and you will not have access to monetization tools and features. Please go to your monetization page to read more about the specific policy our specialists flagged. We know this is tough news, and sometimes we have to make difficult decisions. We have a responsibility to ensure our community is safe for creators, viewers, and advertisers, okay? At the same time, we understand that you may have unintentionally made mistakes. That's why you'll be able to reapply for the YouTube Partner Program in 30 days. The 30-day time period allows you to make changes to your channel to make sure it's in line with our policies, okay? But the problem is they don't tell me which video was problematic or videos. They don't tell me which videos were problems. Two, they don't state what I said that was a problem. Three, they ain't take down none of the videos. So you're saying that the videos are not eligible to be monetized, but you ain't tell me which videos were problems, and you didn't say what I said that was a problem. So I sent a message to Roland about this today, because Roland didn't know about it. The policy just came out today. I sent a message to Roland Martin. I know Roland. I text Roland about it. He didn't know about it, and I'm going to follow with him, because there's going to be a lot of us who this hits, and we're not inciting violence. We're not, preaching hate, things like this, but we're getting hit. So the NAACP, National Urban League, National Action Network, Reverend Al Sharpton, they're going to have to jump on this. This just started today. New York Times has an article about this. NBC News. We posted their article from NBC News today. Let me see. I have their articles up. We'll post a link here. But this is something. That's serious. Okay. So article from New York Times is okay. That's loading up. Let's look at the one from NBC News, because New York Times, you can only read, I think, 4 or 6 articles in a month without paying. I have a digital subscription to New York Times because I read probably 4 to 6 articles a day from the New York Times. I know everybody doesn't want to get a digital subscription. This is the article from NBC News. And I know, in my videos, I talk about white supremacy, racism, slavery, African history, African American history, but my stuff is documented. I can prove exactly what I'm talking about. So I'm still trying to find out what did I violate? Because you haven't told me you haven't said with specificity what I violated. Okay, so quickly at this article from NBC News. YouTube, the name of this article, YouTube bans videos glorifying Nazis and denying violent events. NBCnews.com from June 6, 2019. The video platform has been under pressure from experts and watchdog groups for years to address its role in hosting and spreading hateful content. All right. YouTube said Wednesday that the platform will begin banning videos promoting Nazi ideology, as well as those denying, quote, well-documented violent events, end quote, said, such as the Holocaust or the Sandy Hook massacre. Okay, I don't deal with conspiracy theory. Okay, in general, all that now counterintelligence program COINTELPRO, that was a conspiracy, but it's not a conspiracy theory. A theory is something you believe but can't prove. Once you can prove it, it's not a theory. We know it existed based upon the government's declassified documents. They tell you what they did. So that counterintelligence program was a conspiracy, but it wasn't a conspiracy theory. That was real. Quote, today we're taking another step in our hate speech policy by specifically prohibiting videos alleging that a group is superior in order to justify discrimination, segregation, or exclusion based on qualities like age, gender, race, caste, religion, sexual orientation, or veteran status, end quote, the company wrote in the blog post. Okay, so, I understand cracking down on hate speech and Nazis and things like that, but what does that have to do with me? The company noted that, quote, it will take time for our systems to fully ramp up, end quote. The video platform has been under pressure from experts and watchdog groups for years to address its role in hosting and spreading hateful content, as researchers showed that its algorithm tended to drag users from mainstream videos toward extremist political content through the use of its autoplay feature and recommendation system. Well, why don't you turn autoplay off then? Why don't they just disable autoplay, or have it set up where you have to actually go in and physically turn autoplay off? because I keep turning the autoplay on and somehow it keeps coming back on. I keep turning the autoplay off and somehow it keeps popping back on. Now, YouTube said its new policy would aim to, quote, prevent our platform from being used to incite hatred, harassment, discrimination, and violence. YouTube will, end quote, YouTube will also begin to change the videos it recommends alongside, quote unquote, borderline content that does not violate the company's policies. Quote, in January, we piloted an update of our systems in the US to limit recommendations of borderline content and harmful misinformation, such as videos promoting a phony miracle cure for a serious illness or claiming the earth is flat. Okay, I don't deal with none of that stuff. The company wrote, quote, we're looking to bring this updated system to more countries by the end of 2019, end quote. Now, YouTube will include, okay, I ain't gonna read this whole article, but I'll share the next paragraph. You can read the rest of it. YouTube will also include videos from authoritative sources alongside borderline videos. The video sharing platform has been criticized by researchers who argued that the company was not simply hosting the videos, but also leading users down, quote unquote, rabbit holes toward increasingly violent and extreme viewpoints while shutting out dissent. Now, Jonas Kaiser, K-A-I-S-E-R, an assistant researcher at Harvard University, and Adrian Rauchfleisch, R-A-U-C-H-F-L-E-I-S-C-H, an assistant professor at the National Taiwan University, outlined the phenomenon last year in a research paper titled Unite the Right, how YouTube's recommendation algorithm connects the US far right. Okay, so check out the rest of this. Check out this article here. This is the one from NBCnews.com. YouTube bans videos glorifying Nazis and denying violent events. I still don't know what this has to do with me. I'm trying to figure this out. All right. So you may hear this from some other people as well. All right, it's time to start filing lawsuits against both YouTube and Facebook. Anthony said social media created too many 6- and 7-figure people of color. Shalita said, Shirley, how you doing, Shirley in Philadelphia? All right. Let's see here. Okay. All right, so share this broadcast on your Facebook page. I have to get out of here. Thanks for tuning in. Hey, remember, at the African History Network, we focus on educating, empowering, and inspiring people of African descent throughout the diaspora and around the world, because right now it's correct wrong behavior. What you do for yourself, what you do to yourself, and what you allow the people to do to you and get away with is based upon what you think about yourself. What you think about yourself is based upon what you have been taught about yourself. What you've been taught about yourself is based upon everything you've read, heard, and seen about yourself. Remember, right now it's correct wrong behavior. It's not over till we win. Wakanda forever. We'll talk to you next time. Peace.